Hi everybody! Since summer is starting very soon, I thought it would be cool to make a summer crochet video. I'm not the biggest fan of summer fashion, so it was a tiny bit hard for me to figure out what to make exactly, so I do hope you enjoy the pieces I did for this video. There's 4 pieces in total, 3 of them are tops and 1 is a bottom. Technically 2 of them are a set, but still. With all that said, let's go ahead and get started. For the cover-up skirt, you're first going to create a slip knot and chain however many chains that fit around your waist comfortably, but only until a bit of your leg is still not covered. This chain has to be a multiple of 4. For my waist, I did a chain of 88. After you chain the amount you need, chain 2 more. 1 for the turning chain and 1 for the chain that evens the count out. So you'll have your chain amount that's a multiple of 4 plus 1 more chain. For an example, I did a chain of 88 and after adding the 2 chains, I'll have 90 chains. But once I start working, I'll end up only having 89 chains. Then you're going to single crochet into each stitch down the chain until the end of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to create another row of single crochet into each stitch until the end. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. For the 3rd row, you're going to chain 5 and then work into the 4th stitch from the beginning of the row. So skip 3 stitches and then work a single crochet into the 4th stitch. You're then going to chain 5 and work into the next 4th stitch with a single crochet. You're going to repeat this pattern of chaining 5 and then working into the 4th stitch with a single crochet all the way to the end of the row. At the end of the row, you should have 5 stitches remaining. With your chain of 5, single crochet into the last stitch of the row. Then chain 3 and turn your work. You can add a stitch marker to each end of the row where the turning chain is, so you know where you should work your last stitch once you reach the end. For the 4th row, chain 2 and then single crochet into the chain 5 space. After the single crochet, chain 5 and single crochet into the next chain 5 space. Continue this pattern of chaining 5 and then working a single crochet into the next chain space until the end of the row. At the end of the row, add a single crochet into the last chain space and chain 2, which I don't show in the video. Then into the 1st stitch of the row, add 1 double crochet. I suggest adding a stitch marker to the middle of your work on the single crochet rows so you can know which side is even and which side is odd, since each side has a slightly different pattern to follow. The pattern we just did for the 4th row is what we'll be doing for every even row of the project. When you're done, chain 1 and turn your work. The pattern for this row, which is row 5, will be the pattern we follow for every odd row of the project. First, chain 5 and then work 1 single crochet into the chain 5 space. After that, chain 5 again and work a single crochet into the next chain space available. You're going to keep repeating this pattern of chaining 5 and working a single crochet into each chain space until the end of the row. At the end of the row, add 1 single crochet into the last chain space. Then chain 5, which I don't show in the video, and add a single crochet into the last stitch of the row where the stitch marker is. After, chain 3 and turn your work. You're going to be repeating the steps for row 4 on every even row, which is the row with the stitch marker in the middle, and then the steps for row 5 on every odd row, which is the row without the stitch marker in the middle. Both patterns are relatively the same, the only difference is how it starts and how it ends. The odd row starts with a chain of 1, and then you do the pattern of chaining 5, and then single crocheting into each chain space. Then when you reach the end, you finish your last chain 5 and single crochet into the stitch marker stitch. The even row starts with a chain of 3 and then a chain of 2 before single crocheting into the next chain space, and then repeating the chain 5 and single crochet pattern. When you reach the end, you chain 2 and then double crochet into the stitch marker stitch before starting the next row. You never work into these tiny spaces here that look like turned triangles. Once you reach the amount of rows you want, which for me was 50 rows, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. For the straps, you're first going to attach your yarn to the side of the single crochet row, and then single crochet down 10 stitches for one row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. For the second row, you're going to repeat the pattern you've been doing for the skirt, but for the straps. So for this row, which will be the odd row, you'll first chain 5, and then work into the 4th stitch with a single crochet. After, chain 5 again, and work a single crochet into the next 4th stitch. Chain 5 one more time, and work into the end of the row with a single crochet. For the even row, you're going to chain 3, and then chain 2 more before working a single crochet into the chain 5 space. After, chain 5 and work a single crochet into the next chain 5 space. Repeat this once more on the last space. After, chain 2 and work a double crochet into the end of the row stitch. You're then going to repeat the even and odd rows for a total of 35 rows, or however long you want the straps to be. At the end of the last row, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. You're then going to repeat this for the other side of the skirt to make the second strap. Once you create the second strap, weave in any ends, and your wrap skirt is complete. For the matching bra, you're first going to create a slip knot and chain 11. After chaining 11, single crochet into every stitch of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. For the second row, you're going to single crochet all the way until the last stitch of the row. At the last stitch, you're going to insert 3 single crochets into the same stitch. Will make the end of the row round up to where you can work on the opposite side of the stitches. Make 1 single crochet into every stitch of the other side until the end of the row. At the end, chain 1 and turn your work. For the third row, single crochet down until you reach the highest stitch of the rounded part. You're then going to work 3 single crochets into that stitch before working normal single crochets down the rest of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to repeat the pattern for the third row until the bra fits the way you want it to, sideways on your chest like this. For me, this was 11 rows. On the beginning of the last row of your bra cup, you're going to work 3 single crochets into every stitch until you reach the top of the rounded part of the cup. Once you reach the rounded part, you're going to chain 45. After chaining 45, work 1 single crochet down into each chain until you reach the body of the cup again. Once you reach the cup again, work single crochet down until the end of the cup. At the end, chain 90. This will be your top strap. At the end of the chain 90, work 1 single crochet down into each chain until you reach back to the body of the cup. Once you reach the body, you're going to single crochet on the side of the cup until the last stitch before the ruffle section. Once you reach the last stitch, chain 70. After chaining 70, work down the chain with 1 single crochet into each chain until you reach the body of the cup. Once you get to the body, you're going to single crochet into the same stitch as the chain, and then slip stitch into the first ruffle, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. You're now going to repeat all of this one more time to create a second cup. Once you have your second cup, your bra is complete. So here is what the little set looks like. I have a clip right here showing what the full thing looks like, but right here I'm going to show from here and up. It came out so much cuter than I thought, honestly, because as I was working on the skirt, I was like, I don't know if it's going to turn out the way that I'm seeing it. And then when I put it on, I was still like, I don't really know if I like it. But then once I made the matching top to go with it, I was like, oh yeah, this is cute. I was thinking if I should just do a basic bra like this, or maybe ones with beads, but then I didn't have any beads. So I was like, what if I did 3 granny squares where it's like 1, 2, and then 3 in the middle? But I was like, I don't know if that would go with this skirt. So I just went with this basic bra and then added little frillies on the bottom, and I think it was perfect. It's easy to do, it's basic, but you can also add on to it to make it more cooler and unique if you want to. For the cross tie top, you're first going to create a slip knot and chain 23, or however many that gives you enough coverage for your chest, like I'm holding it here. You're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each stitch until the end of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to repeat working half double crochet down each row for a total of 32 rows, or however many that lets the top wrap from the front of your chest to the middle of your back. Once you finished row 32, or the row you're satisfied with, chain 1 and turn your work. On the next row, which is row 33 for me, half double crochet into 3 stitches. This section will be the bottom of the top. On the 3rd stitch, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to work into these 3 stitches for a total of 145 rows, or until you enjoy the length of the strap. At the end of the 145th row, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. For the green top, I did a total of 80 rows for the bottom strap. You're now going to attach your yarn to the other end of the same row you started the first strap on and chain 1. This will be the top strap. Work into 2 stitches with 1 half double crochet into each. Then chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to repeat this for a total of 45 rows. At the end of the 45th row, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. On the opposite end of the panel, you're going to attach your second color and chain 1. You're then going to work a half double crochet into each stitch until the end of the row. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to repeat this for a total of 22 rows, or however many rows to where it wraps around the other side of your chest. Once you finish row 22, or the row you're satisfied with, you're going to repeat the steps you did for the straps on the other side of the strap. Make sure the straps you did before are on the correct sides, so you're not creating a large strap where a small strap should be. So if you look here, you would actually start the top strap first, and then do the bottom strap after. Once you finish the straps, weave all your ends in, and you're done. Okay, this is what the cross top looks like on. I'm showing it with some cargo pants that I have. I'm going to move to right here so I can post a clear video of me wearing it and everything. But I think this top is really cute. It came out just the way that I wanted it to, and I was really nervous because it doesn't look good until you put it on. It just looks like a weird figure with arms, I guess, but I like how it looks. I'm going to show you what the pink one looks like, since I did use that one in the tutorial. But yeah, you can tie it in multiple ways. You can keep the tie in the front. You could put it in the back if you want to. You can have it crossed. The first color that you use is a lot longer than the second color. I didn't realize that until after, so if you do want to adjust it, you can just divide the total number of rows that you need for both of them and divide that by 2, and then you'll get a nice little color change in the middle instead of it being on the side. But I didn't think it was that big of a deal, so I just loved it how it was. Here is what the pink one looks like. It has a much longer tail than the first one. This one was the 100+ rows, and then the other one with, I think, was 80 rows. I did this one first. I didn't think it was going to get this long, but I was like, okay, you can have, if you want a really long one, you can do that. If you want a short one, you can do that. It's really up to your preference. But yeah, I think this is pretty cute, actually. I think I like them both. I can't say I like one better than the other, but I do like them both. For the tube top, you're first going to create a slip knot and chain 73. This is the amount that worked for me, but you can add more chains for yourself. You want the chain to wrap around your back and leave a decent gap in between your chest so that when you put the tube top on, it'll actually stay on. Crochet stretches a lot, so you want to make sure that the gap is not super big, but not small either. To make sure it's the right size, you can also take out a measuring tape and measure your bust size and compare it to the size of the chain when it's stretched. If it stretches to at least an inch before your bust size, then it's a good amount of chains. For an example, my bust size is 32 inches and the chain stretched to 31 inches. Once you have the amount of chains you desire, begin to half double crochet into each chain down the row. Once you reach towards the end of the row, finish your last stitch. Then loop your new color around the hook and pull it through. Turn your work and begin working the second row with the new color. You're going to work half double crochet down the entire row. At the end of the row, change your color again and turn your work. You're going to repeat this for as long as you want your tube top to be. For a short tube top, I suggest around 19 rows. For an average tank top, I suggest 21 rows. Once you reach the amount of rows you desire and the end of the last row, chain 1 and turn your work. You're going to slip stitch the ends together to form a tube top. All you have to do is go into both stitches of both sides and slip stitch down until the end of the row. At the end, chain 1, cut the yarn, and pull to secure. Then weave in your ends and your tube top is complete. This is what the tube top looks like on. I really like this a lot more than I thought I was going to when I was first figuring out a pattern for it. And I really like it. The part where you make your first row is tight, but it keeps the tube top up. But it's not like squeezing me or anything, it just holds it in place. If you still feel like you probably need some tape or anything like boob tape, then I would suggest it because you tend to need it when you wear tube tops anyway, but I am pretty confident that this won't fall down because it has a good hold for me, I think. This is what the other one that I made looks like right here. This one has 19 rows and this one has 21 rows. It's not a huge difference, but if you want it to be shorter and have it stop like right here, you can do so. And this is kind of what it would look like. It's just a shorter top, more like a bandeau or bandeau. And then if you want to keep it going more, you can do that. Like it's up to you. You can also, like, just in case if you want that extra security, you can add like a little chain to like right here on both, like one here and one here, and then just tie it behind your neck. You don't have to, it's gonna be fine how it is, but if you really want to make sure it doesn't fall off in public, then you can go ahead and make that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed all the pieces in this video and that they are summer approved, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!